Rain hammered the Bronx like the city was trying to drown out the sound of broken lives. Inside a cramped fourth-floor apartment, the radiator hissed weakly while Sarah Bennett stood frozen beside the kitchen table, still in her grease-stained diner uniform. Across the dim room, Lucas O'Connell slid a set of divorce papers across the counter with a polished Mont Blanc pen, one he'd bought on credit. "Lucas, you're leaving now." He didn't blink. "I'm done living small, Sarah. And I'm done living with you." The door swung open again, a process server handing her an envelope, and behind him a blonde woman in a rain-proof cashmere coat stepped forward, smirking. "She really lives like this," the woman whispered loudly. Lucas adjusted his tie. "Not my problem anymore." The apartment felt colder than the storm outside. Sarah tasted metal in her throat, fear, disbelief, humiliation. Yet far across the ocean, in a Zurich office she didn't know existed, a sealed file already held her name and a fortune that would rewrite everything Lucas thought he controlled. He believed he was walking toward a better life. He had no idea he was walking away from half of $1.3 billion. And the moment Sarah learns the truth, nothing, and no one, in this city will stand the same. Like the video and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more gripping, unforgettable stories. Rain washed through the Bronx as Sarah stepped into the hallway, the echo of Lucas's final words still vibrating in her chest. The process server had already disappeared down the stairs, and the blonde woman in the cashmere coat had pulled her umbrella close as if proximity to Sarah might soil her. The apartment behind her felt hollow, stripped of warmth, stripped of dignity. She closed the door quietly, almost reverently, as if closing the last chapter of a life she had tried so hard to keep alive. The hallway light flickered, humming in the stale air. She gathered 2 trash bags with a few belongings she could carry and walked down the stairs one slow step at a time, each footfall heavier than the last. And yet, beneath the weight, something strange flickered inside her, an exhaustion too deep to name, but also the faintest pulse of defiance, buried under months of humiliation. At the bus station, she found a seat beneath a flickering sign and curled up on a plastic chair. The storm drummed hard on the roof. Her eyes stung but no tears came, she felt scraped clean. She rested her forehead on her knees and whispered into the empty room. "What did I do to deserve this?" But life was already shifting around her. 3 days later, she sat inside a warm deli near Central Park, buying a single cup of coffee just to keep her seat. The city outside was too sharp and unkind. She didn't know her phone had been cut off. She didn't know she had been fired. She didn't know the world she lived in was already unraveling and reforming around a truth she hadn't yet heard. When a man in a charcoal coat approached her table, she nearly stood up to leave. "You don't have to go," he said gently. "I've been trying to find you." She studied him. Calm eyes, umbrella dripping onto the floor, a briefcase held with careful purpose. "Who are you?" "My name is Reginald Graves," he said. "And I believe your life is about to change." She almost laughed. "Unless you're here to offer me a job or a miracle, I don't think so." Reginald opened his briefcase, sliding a velvet-bound document toward her. "Miss Bennett, your great-uncle Arthur Pendleton passed away. He left his entire estate to his only living blood relative." She blinked, confused. "Estate? I didn't know him. My mother barely spoke his name." "He was reclusive," Reginald admitted. "But brilliant. He bought land when no one else wanted it. Held it while the city rebuilt itself. Miss Bennett, you now own the land beneath 17 Manhattan skyscrapers." The deli seemed to fall silent around her. "And the portfolio is valued," he continued, "at approximately $1.3 billion. Sarah gripped the edge of the table. "That can't be real." "It is," he said softly. "And I am here to help you protect it." Her breath left her lungs in a thin, trembling stream. Somewhere in her mind, she saw Lucas's face twisted with contempt, telling her she had a poverty mindset, telling her she was dragging him down. And now the world tilted sharply, revealing a truth no one, especially Lucas, had ever expected. Over the next weeks, the Plaza Hotel became her shelter, her war room, her classroom. Reginald assembled a team, a forensic accountant, a legal strategist, a former diplomat, each of them treating Sarah not as the broken woman she believed herself to be, but as the rightful owner of an empire long hidden. She woke before dawn every day, studying until her eyes ached. She learned zoning codes, lease structures, financial modeling, and corporate language. The more she learned, the clearer her past became. She saw the ways Lucas had chipped at her confidence, turned her loyalty into dependency, molded her fears into chains. One evening, while reviewing the Harrington Global lease, she froze. "This building," she murmured. "Lucas works there." Reginald nodded. "Their lease expires automatically upon the owner's death. You have the right to evict or renegotiate." Sarah held the document between her fingers, feeling its weight, not in paper but in power. "What would you like to do?" Reginald asked. She didn't answer immediately. Her memories swirled, cold pasta, harsh words, being shoved aside like debris. But revenge wasn't what filled her chest now. It was clarity. "I want a meeting," she said. "With Harrington Global. And Lucas." The week leading up to the meeting, Lucas strutted through his new life with Jessica on his arm, oblivious to the storm gathering above him. On the morning of the negotiation, he arrived in a bespoke navy suit, convinced he was about to charm some faceless billionaire. When he saw Reginald's stern expression and the imposing conference room high inside the Chrysler building, he tried to hide his nerves behind a polished smile. "I'm sure we can reach a mutually beneficial agreement," he said confidently. The chair turned. Sarah sat before him, regal in a white suit sharply cut to her frame, her posture calm, her gaze unshakable. She didn't look like the woman he'd abandoned. She didn't look like someone he could dismiss. "Hello, Lucas," she said softly. His face drained of color. "Sarah. What is this? What are you doing here?" "I own this building," she replied. "And the ground beneath it." His jaw worked like a machine misfiring. He stumbled through excuses, promises, lies dressed up as apologies. "We can fix this," he pleaded. "We were always strongest together." "No," she said. "You were strongest when I was weak." Reginald slid the lease across the obsidian table. Lucas scanned the terms eagerly, until he hit the final line. Persona non grata clause. Immediate termination of one identified employee. Name, Lucas O'Connell. He dropped the paper as though it burned him. "You can't do this," he whispered. "I already have." The fallout was immediate. Security escorted him through the trading floor, the same floor where he had strutted, belittled, and bullied his colleagues for years. Their eyes followed him, not with pity but satisfaction. At the curb, drenched in rain, he tried calling Jessica. She refused to let him into their apartment. She called him a liability. She blocked his number. She vanished from his life with the same ease he had once dismissed Sarah. He sued. He lost. His name became poison in the industry. No firm wanted a man who could be fired by the woman he once humiliated. Within months, his money dried up. Within a year, he was selling timeshares across the river. Within that same year, Sarah was renovating communities, reshaping the skyline, and rewriting her place in the world. On a winter night outside the Pierre Hotel, Lucas spotted her on the terrace above him, blue velvet gown shimmering under chandelier light, posture unbroken, gaze steady. She looked down at him for a single moment. There was no anger, no triumph, no recognition of any kind, only indifference, the kind reserved for people who no longer matter. He stood on the sidewalk clutching a cheap hot dog, shivering, realizing too late that he hadn't just lost a marriage. He had thrown away the only person who believed he could be better. And she had become someone far beyond his reach. Sarah returned inside, welcomed by warmth, respect, and the future unfolding before her. A future she had built not from inheritance alone, but from strength Lucas never imagined she possessed. And somewhere far below, the man who mocked her for counting pennies now counted coins for dinner. Not by her vengeance, but by the weight of his own choices. And his downfall was only the beginning of what destiny had in store for him. In the months that followed, the city seemed to unfold differently for Sarah. Not brighter, not softer, just honest. She walked through neighborhoods where she once kept her head down, and now people greeted her by name, not because of wealth, but because she chose to build something that would outlast pain. She no longer carried the heaviness Lucas had planted in her. She carried her own voice instead, steady and sure. One evening, while reviewing plans for the new community project, she paused at the window. Down below, traffic pulsed through the streets like a living current. She realized she didn't need to prove anything to the world. The truth had already carved its own path, revealing who had stood with integrity and who had not. Growth hadn't come from revenge, but from the decision to rise even when no one expected her to. Sarah touched the glass lightly, watching the skyline she now shaped. It wasn't victory she felt, but clarity, a quiet confirmation that strength often begins in the moments when everything seems lost. And somewhere in the distance, a siren's echo drifted through the night, carried by the wind like a reminder of how far she had come. If this story moved you, please like, share, and help Canada's Heartfelt Tales grow by subscribing to the channel.